Hey, it's Hot Rod here. So today I'm working on my 57 Chevy, but this could apply to anything. So how many times have you took a transmission pan off and you didn't have a drain plug and the shit just poured out and made a hellacious mess? It happens all too often. And why these engineers who can build cars can't figure out to put a drain plug in a transmission is absolutely beyond me. More dumbass engineering. Anyway, again, just like the Subaru, we're gonna re-engineer their bullshit. And here's what we're gonna do today. So, I've got this transmission pan off of this 700R, and what I've done is I drilled a hole. Now you want to be careful where you drill a hole, because sometimes there's innards inside the transmission that is really close to here and a little bit close to here. So you don't want to put your drain plug in a place where it might, be up against some of the valve body or something. So back here in the back's a pretty clear area right here. So the way I do it is, and I just take a regular bolt, like a 3/8, whatever you got, but a 3/8, and then I take like a flange washer here, and that flange gives me a good weld. And as you can see there, like I drill a hole in the pan, and then I put the bolt through there, and then thread it, and then tighten it up. You be sure and cover up any protruding threads coming out there, because they may get welding spatter on them and you won't get them out very easy. And it'll ruin what you're working on. So anyway, just put a little tack on it to hold it in there, okay? And then make sure that when you drill the hole that you do a pretty, that you do a pretty tight job drilling the hole. You don't want to have a like excessively too big a hole for the bolt. You want it to fit fairly snug, and I got mine a little bit on the bigger side, but it'll be okay. It'll work. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a gasket for that. Hold on, let me zoom back out. So we're going to make a gasket for that, and that's another thing. How many times have you needed a gasket and you didn't have one, what you needed, and it was such an inconvenience. Even if the parts store then was open, it was such an inconvenience to go get one. And sometimes you need some oddball thing that they wouldn't have. So here's what I've done for fucking 30 years, is get you a gasket punch set like this right here. One of them. It's in multi sizes. Hobo Freight has them. Yeah, Hobo Freight's not the best tools, but the gasket punch is plenty good. It served me for 30 years almost. And then the smaller gasket punches that I found, and they work good. So anyway, we're going to, and then buy you a roll of cork, paper, gasket material. I used to use like a pasteboard, and it'll work in a pinch, but it's not ideal. Like a cardboard box or something, it's not ideal because the oil will leak through that slowly. So you need to get something, substantial, like an actual gasket material. Anyway, so let's put this down here and get my workspace set up, and let's make one and zoom it in and get you to show how easy that this is. This is so easy. And a gasket punch set can save you such a hassle, and it can fix stuff like on a Sunday at midnight when nobody else is open. So for me, I want a gasket around this bolt right here. And so I picked one of my punches out that has, see, these are interchangeable, and you can buy these where you get different size cutters on it. So I picked one where that my washer then will fit in there, and it'll be the same size as the washer. So I know I'm good on that. All right, screw that on. And then I picked one that was the same as my bolt size right there, just snug. I don't want one super loose, I want it just right. So then we got that. So when you punch one out, you need to kind of find the center and work from the center as much as you can. You can't always do that, because as you can see, that has a center, that does not. So how are you going to center on one that does not? Well, you just have to use your eye, and that's where you have to try to be picky and try to get it as accurate as you can. I'm going to use this punch awl to just kind of establish a center on it, so I can, you can use a marker, whatever you want to use, but this punch awl cuts right on through it, and I can see it like it's a good witness mark. So what I can do is put my centering tip right here on that right there. Okay, and then get you a pretty good size heavy hammer. So and another thing, make sure you're doing it on wood, and make sure that what you have is super solid. Like there is a post right underneath right here on my table, so I know it is super solid down the concrete. That or a steel table, but if you use a steel table, be sure that you have a piece of wood laid up underneath of it so you don't damage your cutter. Anyway, and you can tell when it's solid because it feels solid. Just cut right through that, see there? And we'll take that off, push that out. That right there's supposed to push it out, but it don't always work that way. So now we have our little gasket right there. So here's where we have to kind of be, kind of particular, and still having that. Well, you probably can't see it, but still having that center point right there. I'm gonna visualize and work off of that and try to imagine this thing in the center of that hole right there. Kind of eye it the best I can. And I'll know if I got it pretty good if I see the same reveal all the way around it. You want it to kind of see the same, reveal around it. And there we go. There we have a gasket right there. And then we just put her on there and boomity boom. There we go. There's our gasket. Now some of you may say, well, it ain't gonna seal against this washer. It will, because I cut it tight. And that's the important thing of having it really snug around here, because when I clamp this down on the pan, that cork is gonna push in and it's going to seal it. So I don't have any problem with it. Sure, like a flange bolt then would be the best. I don't have it, but this will work. Anyway, I would not recommend you doing a gasket with no washer at all, because then you're only going to be, let me see if I can find one. You're only going to be sealing on that shoulder, and I don't really feel that is sufficient. I mean, it might work, and it might not. It probably won't, but Anyway, that's all it is to making a gasket. Have you plenty of gasket material? You can get it in various thicknesses, paper or cork. Like I said, various thicknesses, various sizes. Get you a sheet of it, a couple sheets of it, of different kinds. Have it, get you a gasket punch set right here, and whack them out, man. Look at that. Less than, it took me like 5 minutes for me to show you all this, but less than probably two minutes and I got a gasket. Anyway, Hot Rod's Woodshed, y'all, peace out and get out there and do something. And don't let the hard things like a gasket stop you from doing what you're doing. There's an obstacle here. Don't let it stop you. Go around it. Peace out, y'all.